Hello, everyone. It's Micah. Today on Work in Progress, uh, I want to talk about Nashville. Nashville, the city, Nashville, my hometown, and Nashville, the place I recently just visited for a couple of days, and as a tourist for the first time in my life, and my impressions of my hometown. So first, a little history about me and my relationship to my hometown. It's a little bit deceptive to call Nashville my hometown because here's the situation. I was born in Baptist Hospital in the middle of Nashville, and then I was transferred over to Vanderbilt Hospital because I was 2 months premature. I spent several weeks in the hospital. I was about to say 6 weeks, but somehow that doesn't sound right. It might have been closer to 8 weeks or more, uh, while I was still, you know, growing to like, you know, my term weight, and waiting for everything to develop as it should. Now, as you can imagine, that many years ago, a 2 month premature baby was not a walk in the park. It was not a given that that child would live. So I don't really know, and my parents never really went into a lot of detail about how touch and go it was, but they did say that it was a 50-50 chance when I was born, that I would survive. But or at least that's what they were told. So I don't think a lot about that, but when I say it out loud, it does have more of an impact. That's neither here nor there. But so I was definitely born in Nashville and spent the first few weeks of my life in Nashville, and then went home with my parents. And at the time, from what I remember, and again, years pass and you don't even actually remember things. You sort of start remembering, you start remembering things as opposed to firsthand remembering. Uh, and I certainly don't actually remember living in Nashville because I moved out before I was a year old. But I believed I lived in the Bordeaux neighborhood of Nashville for that first year. My parents, being very religious, uh, felt that the city was an evil influence on a young child. They didn't feel like they wanted to raise me there. So we moved several counties out to Jackson County, Tennessee. From there, and those were my earliest memories. And then a few years later, we moved to Monroe County, Kentucky, which was one county away across the border. And then we moved back to Macon County in Tennessee for about a year and a half. And then we made our way back. At this point, I was 12 years old. I had been successfully raised up through my preteen years without all of the troublesome city influences. But the second I arrived back in Nashville, I knew that I was really in my element. Like, I've always been a city person. I've felt it from a very young age that this is, cities are where I belong. Uh, so I did not return to Nashville until I was 12, but that was enough time for me to get in a year and a half of middle school and my entire high school education before heading off to college in Atlanta. And I came to Atlanta in 91 for college, and I never left. So I've been an Atlanta area resident for the entire time, and I've been a resident of the city of Atlanta proper since 2012, so 14 years. So a very, very long history here in Atlanta, a total of about 7 to 8 years living in Nashville. But at any rate, that was my exposure to Nashville. Nothing to speak of because I was a baby. And then from the time I was 12 until I graduated high school, and then a couple of summer vacations back from college, and after that, I was more or less a visitor here every time after that. Here, there, everywhere after that. Like, this video is about Nashville, and so I have like mentally relocated myself to Nashville. So if I misuse the phrases here and there. Uh, maybe I should like stop this video and do a refresher with Grover about. Oh, that's near and far. Here and there, near and far. What's the difference? At any rate, maybe today isn't the best day for me to be doing videos. Like I've received a lot of interesting news today, which I won't get into. So if I'm a little off my game, that's probably what I'm going to blame it on. At any rate, Nashville. So while I was there, I was very much about going to school and my school activities and being at home, and my parents were very overprotective, so I didn't really go out a lot on my own. I didn't do a whole lot of sightseeing. I didn't take advantage of all the things that the city had to offer. Because of school outings, I did make it out to say that I did make it out to the Parthenon. I did a campus visit to Vanderbilt when I was considering going to college there. I did, and when I was younger, we really were sort of like visitors to Nashville, and we would go into the city somewhat often, and so I did see a lot of different sites, but I never spent a concerted amount of time or effort being a tourist or doing anything formally touristy in the town. I've never done anything related to country music. While I've not seen a single country music concert, I had never been to the Country Music Hall of Fame. I didn't even visit Music Row until about, gosh, I guess that's been about 14 years ago now, when I went to my company's offices, which happened to be on Music Row. That was my first time being there. So there's so much that I missed out on. This past weekend, I went to Nashville for a funeral, and because of the circumstances, the logistics, I ended up getting a hotel downtown, which is something I had never done before. And as such, I really felt like a tourist for the first time. At this point in my life, and for the past 15 years, 20 years really, I've made a point to come back about twice a year to see my people here, my people in Nashville, and I usually I've either stayed with them or I have gotten a hotel nearby, which is not on the touristy side of town. This is the first time that one time we stayed at the Maxwell House, which is definitely a shadow of its former self. And so we did break out and do something a little different that one time, but other than being out in that particular area, which also is not super touristy, we didn't really see anything that notable. But being downtown, like really staying downtown for the first time, was very eye-opening. And so I really didn't mean to give an 8-minute introduction, because I still haven't gotten into what my impressions were. So but let's talk about it. I spent a couple of days downtown, and this is what I thought. Number one, this really is a big tourist town. It's not that I didn't know that. It's not that I was in denial about it. But it's different when you walk down the street and you see hundreds of people crowding the sidewalks, but hustling, bustling up and down the sidewalks just for fun. Half the people in cowboy hats, most of the people seemingly in cowboy boots, everybody dressed for the occasion, everybody out to have a good time, multiple like party buses going by on the street, seeing all of the tourist activity and seeing how like pervasive it is in downtown is quite eye-opening. The funny thing is, I went to school at Hume Fogg, went to high school at Hume Fogg, which is downtown. It's actually on Broadway. It's like a good 3 blocks up from where the honky tonks are, but I was never that far away. But when I came into town for school every day, I would go to the bus station and I would walk around the back way to the school and just hit Broadway just to get to the front of the school, and then I would go back around back again to the bus station. So I never went to Riverfront Park. I never, not one time did I like diverge from that path that um, was that was set for me, because my parents probably would have had a cow if I had ever like gone anywhere besides where I was supposed to go. Again, overprotected. So while I was mere blocks away from all of these things happening all of this time, I literally never ventured outside of that little 6 block walk that I would do every single day. I would go, I would immediately get off of Broadway, go back 2 blocks. I would cut over on Church Street, and then I would cut back to the bus station. So again, I was cut off from all of that. So Nashville was a tourist town for sure. When I was there, it's certainly exploded, like probably 3 or 4 times more activity than there was at the time. But whatever activity there was in the 80s and 90s, I was oblivious to it. Like I knew it was there. It's different to see it, and seeing it in all its volume now was definitely a lot. Second impression, Nashville is Music City, and there's lots of music, and there's always sort of a country center to things. But one thing I do really enjoy is how Nashville and its various music venues are, I guess, even necessarily inclusive. When I went to Assembly Food Hall, and I stopped by there both nights I was there, because I really like that place. I love the variety of foodstuffs. I like the fact that most every food stall there, I was looking for a better word, every eatery there is a local eatery, or at least not a super big national chain at the very least. And so I did get to eat some things that I had, that are from Nashville that I'd never had before. I went to a wonderful Thai place the first night, and then I went to Pharmacy Burger, which to me lived up to the hype, and that was yummy. But they also have stages. They have a stage on each side of the food hall, and live music pretty consistently throughout the evenings. Anyway, I was there on a Thursday and a Friday night, and it was so interesting that the artists there definitely had more of a country center, as I said, but they interpreted multiple genres into country. The most striking thing I heard across the 2 nights was a version of Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise reimagined as a country song, and it wasn't a very far stretch. Now we're a good 25 years into this whole discovery that rap and country have things in common. For me, the starting point of that was Nelly. A lot of, like, his first album was called Country Grammar, and I don't think he meant it in a country music way specifically, but there was a countryness to his flow and to his way of approaching music that caused him to sort of glide right in and do duets with Florida Georgia Line, and do country flavored songs himself. And of course, at this point, we're in the post Old Town Road era. Kane Brown, Shabuzi, we're at a point now where it's no longer groundbreaking to talk about common ground between hip hop and country. But still, it did make an impression on me that here I am in Nashville, and someone is unironically doing a song like Gangsta's Paradise as a country song. And it really does, it's a really an interesting juxtaposition, because my father used to frequent Broadway, and there was a very strong anti all other types of music bias when it came to country music fans at the time. So I don't know to what extent that sort of musical bigotry still exists, but it really does seem to have been completely drowned out at this point by this idea that music is music, and no matter how vehemently I may disagree with a lot of the ideologies that the people who frequent downtown Nashville and the people who are movers and shakers on that scene think, their viewpoints. At least from a musical standpoint, I can get behind the sort of inclusivity. And again, it probably all boils down to money. Like, the more you cast as wide a net as possible, and you get the most people in. And I realize that's what it's about. But the sort of evolution of what the music and Music City, USA really means, especially in terms of the tourists that they're catering to, was also an interesting thing to observe. What else? Well, I would say that Nashville stacks up well against almost any downtown that I've been to, and I've been to New York City, I've been to Los Angeles, I've been to Seattle, San Francisco, Denver. I haven't been to downtown Phoenix. I've been to Phoenix, but I haven't been. So I don't even know what if downtown Phoenix is even really a thing. Chicago. Now, obviously, Nashville is not Chicago or New York or even LA. Those places are huge and have like their own sort of scale that's like unparalleled. But in terms of having the systems in place, having the conveniences there, in terms of having modern amenities and no, I wasn't expecting outhouses in downtown Nashville. That's not what I'm saying. But just in terms of like having things freshened up and having food options late at night and having access and having good lighting and so on and so forth. Nashville gets a lot of grief for their bad roads, and and I mean, I can agree to that, but I don't know that any downtown area is immune to potholes and road work and construction and all those types of things. But just in terms of infrastructure in general, I found that and like the way that the landscaping and the architecture and the way that the public spaces are built out, I was pretty impressed with all of it. The bus that I came in on, the terminal point, the pickup and drop off point there was at the Omni Hotel in Nashville, and I was particularly impressed with how they designed that as sort of a public space. It's not just a hotel space, it's more of a public area where people are invited in to, like, of course, shop, spend money for sure, like never turn down people who want to spend money. There's a beautiful coffee shop there, several restaurants, and it's attached to the Country Music Hall of Fame. And I just found the whole vibe of that area to be quite inviting, and I was really impressed with it. So as much as I don't like certain things about Tennessee and I don't like certain things about Nashville, and I would never consider moving back there except under some very extreme or very specific circumstances, I will say that I enjoyed it as a tourist. And I guess the last thing I'll say, and this is going to be controversial, possibly, it could be controversial, is that a lot of people draw parallels between Austin and Nashville, and it could just be precisely what I did when I was in each location. And I've only been to Austin one time, and I was downtown, and I will tell you that I like Nashville like 10 times better than Austin. Austin did not set well with me, and I can't totally put my finger on it, but there was just like gaps in their presentation, and it was just not a seamless tourist experience for me. It just felt very kind of bland and not very not very eventful. It didn't like there was no reason, there was nothing there to compel me to come back. I did walk through and I can't remember the name of the corridor there where like the nightlife thrives, and they shut down the roads for people to walk in the roads, and I walked through the middle of that and saw someone like with a humongous python draped around them, and everyone was taking pictures of that, and it was a sight to see. But I don't know, there was just something that didn't quite gel with me about the whole Austin experience, and but Atlanta, for sure, Atlanta. See, again, Atlanta, Nashville, these two hometowns have kind of merged in my mind. So I may have said Atlanta any number of times when I meant Nashville during the course of this little diatribe. But at any rate, hopefully I did say Nashville every other time. Nashville and Austin, I certainly very much prefer Nashville. And that's not any sort of chauvinism on the part of my hometown, because, like I said, I don't have any special love lost for Nashville. It happens to be the place where I was born, and it happens to be the place where I went to high school. Other than that, and it happens to be where a lot of my family is, I don't have any real sentimental attachment to it as a city. You can trust this thoroughly objective review that I've just given of it as a tourist. There's so much more I could say. Like, I could get into a lot of memories, and I could get into a lot of compare and contrast, or the way things were when I first lived there, like really lived there in the mid 80s versus today. But I'll cut it off there. I'm struggling enough to have coherent thoughts at the moment anyway, so I will stop it there, and I'll have a new topic of conversation on the next video, and I'm thinking the next topic might be WTF. If you want to know what that means, then stay tuned for the next video.